Hello, everyone. Welcome to Program 12 of Nevada Women's Film Festival. I'm Nadine-Gabrielle Natividad and one of the co-founders of Eccentric Artists Film Collective. I run a lot of the social media for the Film Collective as well as the film festival. So I'll see you guys on there. And if you interacted on social media, it was probably me. And joining us behind the camera is one of my fellow board members and co-founder of Eccentric Artists, Jemsen Bollozos. And then moderating today's Q&A is Michelle Patrick, who is part of the Nevada Women's Film Fest Board of Directors. Michelle's worked at the intersections of theater, dance, film, arts programming, and public speaking. She currently focuses on nonprofit arts organizations, cultural institutions, and individual artists. She's originally from Queens, New York, and is also a facilitator, voiceover artist, and has a varied background as an arts administrator that includes the Nevada Arts Council, City of Las Vegas, Denver Center for the Performing Arts, and the Sundance Film Festival. So I'll go ahead and have her take over. Michelle, take it away.
Thank you so much, Nadine, for that really lovely introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everyone, and thank you again for joining us for Program 12. It is my absolute honor and privilege to welcome the director from A Matter of Perspective, Gerda Leopold. Thank you. Gerda, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for letting me be there, and thank you for selecting my film. I feel really honored. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It is our distinct pleasure. I have so many questions about this film, and by the way, so good. Let's just dive right in.
Okay.
First of all, can you just tell us a little bit about what got you interested into filmmaking? Why telling stories through a feminist perspective or a feminine perspective? Can you just give us a little glimpse of that?
Okay. The thing is this, I'm a little older than you are, and I grew up basically, I was a child in the 60s, and where I grew up in Austria, in Vienna, cinema wasn't really very much around. It wasn't really there. It was basically kind of seen as an art with something, which is not high art. High art is books and high art is theater. But cinema, I was always told basically that any novel is better than a film. And films, there wasn't much around. I mean, we lived basically at the border of we basically were, very close to the Iron Curtain, and we're basically sort of way off of any trend and fashion or anything like that. So, of course, there were film buzzes. There were people who really went for it, but I didn't know them. And when I became a teenager, I saw the first in the 70s. I kind of, was all interesting, but it really didn't really get me. Things and it was okay and to go to the cinema, but it was there was a lot of really bad films around. I mean, really the only film I grew up on, there were two films I grew up with. It was Ben-Hur, and then there was Once Upon a Time in the West, which was very interesting. I agree. But this all changed when I came to West Berlin in 1980. And in Berlin in the 1980s, the western part of Berlin in the 1980s was basically a little independent city in the middle of Eastern Germany. And so there were a lot of cinemas, and there was suddenly a lot of very interesting films. And, it was basically an eye-opener. But what really kind of struck me and what really I felt weird about was basically all films I saw were directed by men. But there were some little cinema cooperatives. And then I basically realized that I kind of went to them, realized there was a complete undercurrent of female filmmaking, which kind of wasn't really something you saw in official cinemas. Let alone kind of blockbuster cinemas then didn't really exist, at least not in Europe. And so I went to all the screenings, and there was, and what really kind of got me into it was the different view, and the different take women had on the world. And I really suddenly felt, this is where I really could well fit in. And there was a really great magazine, it was called Women in Film. And I really kind of, I think I didn't read it. I basically ate it up, and I was really so drawn into this world. I thought, yeah, I really want to be a filmmaker, and I really want to do that. But in those days, there was just analog film, and it was a lot more expensive. So I really didn't know how to go about it, and it took a long time when finally things started to move. But that was the first moment where I really felt telling stories out of my perspective is really something I want to do.
And I'm so glad. There are so many things in this film that I feel we don't necessarily, or rather we're scared to explore again. And I'm wondering if you can dive a little bit into my perspective of this, right? It seemed like a lot of the characters had this conflict between desire and conformity, particularly when it came to their sexuality. So can you address that, or was I just a little bit off on that?
No, you were not. Well, I mean, let me just think about it. Well, the thing is, I mean, what all characters had in common was that they all, I mean, that had nothing to do with sexuality. They all wanted to be something, yes, and wanted to aspire to something, which they mostly were not. Yeah, and what always and what always came in between, yeah, was their relationships, their relationship life, their sexual life, because it's always fun to kind of go stray away, or kind of feel good when someone really adores you and you go for them, and so that's always great and gives you a kind of boost. But the thing is, at least in my opinion, and maybe I don't want to be too much of a moralist, it has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you meet someone, no matter if it's a woman or a man, yeah, and you have a fling and you have a one-night stand, and even if you walk away on the next day and never see this person again, you are a changed person. It's not, this doesn't leave you how do you say that, without any kind of consequence. It doesn't leave you, you're different, because I mean, maybe for you the world is the same as it was before, but you have been close to someone. I mean, what for me was always kind of weird and strange was when people didn't even know their names, although they just fucked each other's brains out.
Right.
And I will tell you one scene of a film. I only remember one scene of it, basically. I saw it in the 80s. It was a French film. It was called Tea in the Harem of Archimedes. And that is two loser guys from the outskirts of Paris, poor kind of district. And, they go out into the weekend and they really want to have fun and they want to get laid. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and there's this kind of, Moroccan guy, and his body is the kind of, French, white, and red-haired kind of, northern French guy. And they find these two girls and they smooch around, yeah, and they smooch with them, and they sit there, and you have this frame where on the left side is the red blonde guy smooching with the girl, and on the right side is the Moroccan guy and smooching with the other girl, and then the blonde guy grabs the cunt of the girl. Obviously, we don't really see that. And he says to the girl, "You have your period." And the girl says, "Yes." And then he says to his friend, "Give me your girl." And then the friend just gives him the girl, and the other swap girls. And then the guy goes off with this other girl and fucks her brains out or whatever, hopefully. And then these other two people sit there, and the Moroccan guy says to the first girl, "Oh, it's so bad that you have your period." And she also, "Yeah, it's so bad I have a period." And I think, and this was, I guess, really, that's why I remember it so vividly, although it's already, more than 35 years ago. I think, this is absurd. What a world is this? Okay, if I go out and want to get laid, fine. Yeah, I mean, that's my decision and it's the other person's decision. But in the middle of, getting to know each other on the body, level, and then swap characters, basically for persons is so male, and it's so, actually, in my opinion, really horrible. And that's why I decided I really have to do something here. This is really where it kind of, starts for me to kind of, okay, people think all sorts of things, but that's really a kind of, very crucial moment.
Yeah, and I want to, I definitely have some quotes and some other scenes that I want to jump back to, but it looks like we are actually being joined from the director of Afghan Women. Hi, Zeynep, sorry.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you very much indeed. Sorry for being late, but internet connection is very low in today, so sorry about that.
No apologies necessary. We are just so happy to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We also have Gerda Leopold on the also on the Zoom call, her film, A Matter of Perspective. We've been talking about that. So I'm gonna jump over to you just really quickly, because I did have just a couple of questions about your film as well, which by the way was absolutely stunning. There was a quote that really struck out at me that I rarely ever hear here in the United States, and it was, because educated women are never a burden to their husbands. I just thought, wow, because I don't know, in terms of my perception, it seems like educated women here in the United States seem to be a force to be reckoned with, or sometimes it seems like it's almost frowned upon that women should be intelligent or should be educated. Can you just expand a little bit on that? And I was just really surprised at the gentleness of this story as well, and this documentary.
Afghanistan is a very tough country. The situation is very tough for women and men, for all the human beings. But especially it is tough for women and the girls. And they have only chance to change this situation by education. So they know it. If they have a chance to get this education, many things can be changed for them. So women start forcing this in Afghanistan. I have been working for Afghanistan since 2011. And it was also a very surprising village for me as well. I know the country quite well. However, it is the first time that a woman let me to shoot them with the camera. They said that it's okay, but because this village is women are so open-minded, and they said that yes, you can shoot our documentary. Until Afghan Women, I shoot several documentaries in Afghanistan, and they never let me to shoot the woman. And now it is the first time that I have a woman character in a documentary, and it is, which is really the one who knows the Afghanistan, that knows very well that it's very difficult. Something very difficult to shoot them with the camera. They never accept it.
Yes. And I think maybe I used the wrong wording in terms of gentle, but maybe the way that you shot this was just very delicate and very, it was just right on. So thank you. I also love this other quote: "If I were not educated, we would live like animals, and soon we'll be slaughtering one another like animals." I just thought about being educated is so important. How is that still something that Afghan women struggle with in terms of receiving that education and sustaining that?
Yeah. when, for example, governments said that they are giving education to both equally, both boys and girls. However, they didn't, because they just prepare lovely places for the boys, but they just they don't give the right situation to the girl to get this education. So they are not equal. Nothing is equal in this country, unfortunately. And the women know they struggle so many problems. So they said that it has to be changed for our daughters. If they dream something, they believe that if they build this school, they said that, okay, we can't change everything. However, we start. So this is their dream, and I think that it's a very big dream. It seems something very small, but I think it's a very huge dream, and I'm sure it will start changing so many things in this village.
Absolutely. I know it changed something for me, especially my perception. So I'm going to jump back to you, but I'm going to swing back over to Gerda. And Gerda, there was a line, there were actually a couple. One of the female protagonists says, there has to be an end to gratitude. I just love that line so much, especially as a woman, because, right, like, when does it end? I feel like I'm always reminded of that, whether it's in a personal predicament, but especially a professional one. Can you just expand on that? I just love that line.
Can you just give me, it's a bit time has to pass a little. Which character did say that?
I believe, and forgive me, I can't remember her name, but I believe it was the mother.
I know who it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's just the cleaning lady.
Yes.
Well, the thing is that she is a real, she's a real taker, and she's on the move, and she really, she wants to actually, she is basically a little, she's basically like a man. What she wants to do is she wants to get rich, and she wants to get in a really comfortable position, and she has now because this is an episodic film, we don't have that much time to kind of elaborate why she's like that and how it happened and whatever. She sees this chance with this lady, who is a theater director, and who is a person who's running a theater, and she really wants to get out of, and she's bored to death with this dull guy, and she really wants to grab this chance, and she wants to kind of show herself as a really cool and person who knows what she's doing. And of course, this kind of backlashes on her, because the other person feels, well, if she's doing this to the other guy quite fast, what is she going to do when she sees a better opportunity than I am? Yeah. So that's, and she is, she's telling this story about this guy in order to please this other, her hopefully future relationship lover, and unfortunately this goes completely wrong, and she says, he really helped me to get this job in the theater as a cleaning lady, and yeah, I know he adores me, and well, in order to be nice to him, I kind of we went to bed a couple of times, but no, there has to be an end with all this gratitude.
Yes. Yeah, I love that line. I also wanted to jump back to what you were saying about consequences, because it seems like there's such a disconnect today about, right, people considering or being mindful of what a consequence is with their actions. Do you think that social media plays a big part in that today? Because a lot of people seem to act or react before thinking about how that can have an effect on something that they do. But especially for that mother-son relationship that you had. I mean, that was the one thing that just kind of popped out in my mind, especially about consequences and acting on things impulsively.
Possibly. Well, the thing is, I mean, I think I just, I have to say, it's funny that you asked me this today about social media, because I just, had raised a little shitstorm against me because I said something which was not common opinion. And I kind of, I don't care. I kind of welcome it, because, if we all have the same opinion all the time, I mean, you have to be respectful to people. I didn't mean that I, hurt anyone, but I had a different opinion than the kind of common liberal mainstream opinion was. And I kind of thought, why? And it's really weird. I kind of thought about it for 5 minutes. Do I really want to kind of expose myself? And Michelle, understand, this is really weird. I have an opinion. I don't hurt anyone. I just have a different opinion than everybody else. And I have to think about it for 5 minutes in order to kind of shout it out. I mean, isn't that weird? What times are we living in? And I knew that, they would all jump back on me. I think, I don't think that in this mother-son relationship, I think that there is a big consequence with social media. I don't think he had posted photographs of her and with them together. I don't think that. I think that people are not, on the one hand, not really aware of what they're doing, and on the other hand, they also don't know how to use it. I mean, they just blabber out anything they want. I mean, in my opinion, the really worst thing about Instagram is that young women forget how to be natural because they're all posing there, and everybody's keeping themselves there in a pose where, you think, come on, you don't have to be like that. And, not everybody has to be a kind of model type. I mean, this is just bullshit. And it is just ridiculous because, I mean, not everybody can be blonde and 1.80 meters high and, and weigh about 60 pounds. Who cares? I mean, what is this? I mean, like when I saw the American female soccer team, everybody had the same hair color. I mean, they all had this kind of gray blonde colored hair where you really felt like, come on, this is not, what is this? Where are we living? I mean, not everybody has to be streamlined. And this is what social media is doing. And this is, on the other hand, is a tragedy of the mother, who is not a mother, of course, and who never wanted to be a mother and ran away, and who wants to be so fucking independent that in a way she kind of, in order to be kind of, live her individuality every moment of her life, she gets into trouble.
Yeah. I definitely would not see this character committing herself to social media, because she just, like you said, just was her own person and character. And in a way, that's what drew me to her.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to create a female character who is not, typical model you see in a normal film, who is really independent, who is fierce about it, and who goes beyond borders.
Right.
And this went beyond is, of course, it's really where it really comes back to her.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm going to jump back to that, but I want to go, I want to move back over to Zeynep. Can you tell me, Zeynep, what inspired you to be a filmmaker, and why this story?
Well, I like to tell the stories, tell the real stories, real people stories, and especially in the war and conflicted zones. So I love to do that, because I think that when I share their story, something can be changed. I know it's a very small things, but it will start something maybe. So this is my sorry about my English. This is what I like to do. And for this story, for Afghan Women, my surname is Filmmaker, and they are making felt. When I just I was shooting a different story in another village, I'm moving to the Kabul, I saw that woman. They are making felt, and I know it very well from my grandfather. And I stop and I just want to ask. Well, the men's are doing this in my country. In Turkey, men's are doing this, but it was when I was young, and no one can do this tradition anymore in my country. And I remember this tradition from my childhood, and I asked them, and they start talking, and they just explain me their stories, and I love it. When I saw it, I just thought that it's a felt making tradition, but then I saw that there is something huge story inside this felt. So everything starts like that for Afghan women.
Yeah. You speak about tradition. Are there any traditions that are changing in Afghanistan that you've noticed, whether it be good or bad?
Sometimes in bad, sometimes in a good situation. But this tradition like felt making or carpet making, they are lovely traditions. They do it so nice and so valuable things. However, now they in like Kabul or Mazar-e-Sharif in big cities, they just left this tradition. They start because it is very difficult. They need to spend time for it. They need to be patient for it. They are living these traditions, and it's really sad. But the other things are changing, and so many things are changing in a good way for women especially. They start, they said they are so. They have good position in so many places nowadays, because it is very difficult to be a woman in Afghanistan. They treat like as one of my characters said, they are treating them like an animal, unfortunately. But so many things start changing for them, and this is good.
Yes, absolutely. Let me see. I think I have one other. Yes, there was another quote: such a declaration of love, respect, and admiration for the mother and wife who is educated. I just really love that, because I feel like that, again, that's just something that seems to be frowned upon in many cultures, including here in the US, believe it or not. What's the biggest lesson or takeaway that you want your audience to get from this film?
This verse belongs to Muhammad Ali, a man saying this in the film, in the documentary. And he's a lovely guy, and he said that if we are if we know how to be a team together, husband and woman, we will be success. He means that we will be happy in the life. The happiness is the only thing you get from this life. So why we are in a fight? He's saying that. Why we are making their life difficult for the woman. So it is nice to hear all this word from a man voice, especially Afghan men.
Yes. And I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say that is what I really appreciated about watching this film as well.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna hop back over to Gerda just really quickly. There was also
Michelle, I would like to ask Zeynep something.
Yes, please.
First I want to comment and say it's not only, okay, the different in Afghanistan, it's much harder, I understand, but there's a lot of men around who make makes the life of women really difficult, and they don't understand if they make women happy, they would also be a lot more happy. It's somehow men don't understand that. But what I really would like to ask Zeynep is about, I saw the film, I was really stunned by it, and just congratulations, Zeynep, it was really amazing. I wonder how much, I don't know what area of Afghanistan this really was, and I wonder how much to these people are the Taliban's a threat?
Oh, this is Hazara area. It is on the in the Kush Mountains on the north side of Afghanistan. And Taliban is, they are especially fighting with this group, Hazara group. They really make their life difficult, and so they are totally, this is not a Taliban area. I moved from a Taliban area. I have to get permission from them to get this area. We did it, but it is they had a serious conflict with Hazara people. These guys are Hazara people.
Oh, okay. And how did you get the idea at first to go to Afghanistan and make films there and shoot films there?
I have been working there since 2011.
Wow.
I read I heard the news about Afghan coal miners. They are and first I went there to shoot their lives. They are 9 years old only, but they are working, 9 years old children working in the Afghan coal mines. So first I went there to shoot their story. Afterwards, I had friendship with them, and I saw so many other stories, and I continue working with them.
Okay, great. Wow,
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Zeynep, and thank you for asking that, Gerda. Thank you. We are going to be coming to a close here pretty soon, so I'll definitely leave a little bit of room for any closing thoughts both of you have. But Gerda, I just wanted to tap on another quote: "You don't succeed on your talents, but your ability to conform." Again, that's such a great quote. Do you think that that's what women generally have to do, particularly in this industry?
No.
Okay.
I give you a great example.
Okay.
What's her name? Simone Signoret. We are talking a different time without social media. Maybe this is important, but Simone Signoret, when she was really young, famous French actress. Yeah. So when she was really young, she made one film after the other, and she was very, very beautiful. The thing is, and she made all these films, and she was in the industry. France has a big film industry, and when she grew older, people said, when she became, when people were in the late 30s, in the mid-20th century, they were considered to be old. And people said, no, you should hide your age, and you should really, whatever. And she said, no, I won't. And guess what happened? She made the next movie she made, being an older woman, she won an Oscar. And she made, and you should all see this film. It's amazing. And it's called Room at the Top by Jack Clayton. It's from 1959 or 1960. And, to say, no, I want to show my age, and I want to show who I really am. that made her famous. She had her career was shooting off after that. I mean, before the films were basically shit. No one knows them. I mean, it's kind of, you know, little kitschy comedies or whatever, and everybody looked very pretty. But you know, I think the industry has to understand that, you know, people have to look real, and also women have to look real. I mean, if they have realized this with men, but they also have to realize, because I mean, I don't know how it is in the US, but in Europe, people are basically, there's now a lot of people over 50, and there will be more people over 50. And you know, we don't want to go to clinics and look like 20, and no one wants that. Yeah, and we also want to see films where people look old and not be, you know, in old people's home or whatever. But, you know, I mean, and the industry has to understand that. And if they don't, you know, then, you know, we should, you know, start our own industry, because it's absurd to look like, you know, you're just about 35 or something like that. That's ridiculous.
I know. Well, that's what this platform's for, right? Having these discussions, showing your films. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, you know, I think that's a really great place. You've really created a great platform for us. And I think what I meant, though, was more, of course, on the intellectual side. You know, I see a lot of people who are, you know, when they're really talented and they're really, you know, but if they can't conform and if they can't comply, they just fail. And it's sad, because, you know, they do have talents, but, you know, they can't use them. They can't use their tools, because everybody forces them to kind of use them in a certain way, which is sort of, I say again, mainstream. And but, you know, it's why, I mean, you know, and there's always this word diversity. No, people don't want actually, people don't want diversity. That's really weird, but it's true, because, you know, if you really have a different opinion, if you're really different, people in the end don't want that. They claim they want that, but actually everybody is very uncomfortable with someone who is really different. And
thank you for keeping that real. Thank you for, right? Because not a lot of people really are truthful about that, right? You have a lot of people that love to share talking points and want to say the right thing, right? But yeah, that's the thing, is that we also have to still keep talking about, I think, first and foremost, inclusion, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we're having this discussion. Yes. Let me just turn to Zeynep. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I hope everything is changed in these countries like Afghanistan and any other countries. I hope life is getting easier for everyone. This is my wish.
Thank you. Thank you. It is ours too, and it was an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. Gerda, any closing thoughts? We've got about a minute left.
No, it's just very great to have been here, and I hope a lot of people will see Zeynep and my film, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Yes, I wish we had another hour, because ooh,
yes, that would be really wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Show.
But I hope to see your submissions next year. I can't wait to see what you're working on. Thank you so much again for taking this time.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.